Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Black Ops Cold War in Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the LC10 submachine gun. In my opinion, the LC10 is a very solid weapon that reminds me a lot of the Black Ops 2 MSMC. It performs really well at range, it's got low recoil, rate of fire is not super fast, but it's fast enough to be competitive, and also in my opinion, it's probably the best assault rifle SMG hybrid style weapon in Cold War. Cold War has tried to add a lot of weapons that kind of bridge the gap between those two categories, and this one is really the only one that's kind of done it for me. You can also unlock this weapon for free in the Battle Pass. You don't have to pay for anything at all, but if you do just like spending money, you could always use creator code DRIFTOR. There in the store, you can support me through the CoD Creator code program. It does have to be all caps, and the O is a 0, thus technically making this video sponsored by Activision. Alright, moving along, a lot of you have probably seen the post here on YouTube and noticed the decrease in frequency of videos. I've had some bad health problems lately, but I'm feeling a little bit better now. I'm feeling more managed, more sane, more about myself, and I seem to be on a road to recovery. So for now, I'm going to go back to making videos because I just hate laying around and watching Netflix. I mean, it's fun for a day or two, but I'm a little bit energetic, a little bit of a busybody. It's really hard for me to sit around and do nothing for a very long time. So I'm going to try to get back to daily uploads soon-ish, when I can. For now, it's probably not going to be daily, though. But since I'm uploading less frequently, and I may have kind of sort of signed a bunch of deals before the sickness hit, I think future in-depth episodes are pretty much all going to have a sponsored segment. For now, let's move on to the stats of this little weapon. The LC10 bullet velocity is 410 meters per second, which is the second highest in the submachine gun class, and it's just overall very fast. A lot of the submachine guns are like 200 meters per second, and it's slow enough where it almost seems like the game is lagging because the bullets take forever to travel to your enemy. This one is just a little bit slower than the AK-74U and just excellent overall. It also has an excellent maximum damage range at 22 meters, making it the longest range submachine gun in Cold War, a little bit less than that of the Bullfrog. Now, the Bullfrog has an impressive 19 meters, but this is still number 1. But what's probably more impressive than its maximum damage range is its medium damage range, which is 51 meters. That's insane. That's like a lot of the assault rifles in this game. We're reaching a light machine gun territory here. Most of the other submachine guns, like say the Bullfrog or say the AK-74U, have a medium damage range of about 20 meters-ish. So we've got double that, which means it's going to have excellent medium and long range performance. But let's take a look at those numbers in the damage chart so we can have an idea of how it's going to perform. The LC10 base damage is 30, 28, and then 23 finally at long ranges. This ultimately is very mediocre for some machine guns. Cold War has a lot of very high damage SMGs. This actually isn't one of them. It will kill between 5 and 7 shots depending on how far away you are from the enemy. In most cases, it's going to be 5 or 6 because, well, you'd have to be quite far away to be over 50 meters. If you add on the extra damage barrel, you're going to get 1 less shot to kill at those 50 meter plus extreme ranges, which in my opinion isn't really worth it. And the headshot damage is 1.4x, standard for the game, but it's perfect just to decrease your shots to kill by 1 if you're landing headshots in that 22 to 51 meter range. So getting headshots at medium range really helps. Long range and close range, probably not worth your time. Now, I do generally think it's worth your time to go for headshots overall with this weapon because it's accurate enough to easily headshot people. It's something that doesn't take a whole lot of skill to do. Just with a little bit of practice, like 2 or 3 games, I kind of had a feel for it, and I was already beaming people with this gun. And I've got terrible recoil control. I've got boomer fingers. I can barely aim at all, and it just felt like a laser beam to me. The rate of fire is 800 rounds per minute, which is slightly faster than average. In a lot of games, you would actually call that slow rate of fire, but a lot of the SMGs in Cold War are kind of slow in general. It's not crazy fast like the MAC-10, and it's pretty similar to the MP5. So it's not like the fastest in class, but it's a little bit faster than you might think, and that helps because the damage per shot isn't super amazing. So when you add those two together, what you're going to find is that the LC10 body shot time to kill is about 300 milliseconds for most of your engagements. And that's going to be a little bit slower than average for some machine guns. I think average for some machine guns in this game is like 280, 275, something like that. So when a just head-to-head gunfight against any random submachine gun, you'll be at a slight disadvantage here, but it's 1 or 2 frames, and I don't think it's something that a whole lot of you are going to notice. You're definitely not going to notice it as much because you won't be missing many shots. The recoil is naturally very low, but it can be stupidly low when you start using grips and various muzzle attachments. So I'm a big fan of the super horizontal recoil reducing grips that make me not move a whole lot or be able to strafe quickly. It just turns this gun into a laser. I do think that building the laser version of the LC10 is the way to go, because then you pretty much almost never miss, or if you do miss, it's your own fault for not tracking the enemy. The gun is just so easy to control, it's almost like cheating. It's almost like playing Soldier 76. You just don't even have any real recoil. You might just have like a little bloom if you want to hip fire or something. The iron sights are clear, to be fair, but they're bulky around the sight itself. This is like a weird combination of clear yet also bulky. I personally don't like them, and I prefer optics on the weapon, but I can use them. I've talked to a lot of other gamers that happen to love them. I think I just struggle to look past the bulkiness around the sights, but you do you. This is a totally subjective, personal taste kind of thing. The LC10 handling stats are as follows. Aim down sights time is 275 milliseconds, which is pretty normal for some machine guns, maybe even a little bit on the slow side. Sprint out time at 350 milliseconds, which kind of caught me off guard. I was looking at it, I think the stat chart actually has it a little bit slower than that, but I wanted to move in and take a closer look at this sprint out time, and what I noticed is that that's accurate. It really is. I went and measured it a few times. It's really 350 milliseconds, which means that the sprint out time on the LC10 is slower than most of the assault rifles in this game, which means it's just not for rushing, and that's really confusing. It's like in a whole different league of its own in terms of slow sprint out time, and it doesn't quite make sense for an AR SMG hybrid weapon, because you would think one of the benefits of this weapon class would be your ability to move around quickly and get up in people's faces and react a little faster, since it's a really lightweight weapon, but that's not really the case. If this is a problem for you, there's a lot of different usually stock attachments that can fix this. I think the laser's affected a little bit as well, so you can definitely put those on the gun and help. But overall, I really don't believe that it's a rushing weapon, and thinking back to my gameplay and all the different things I tried with it, overall it just performed better when I wasn't really rushing people. On the topic of rushing, let's briefly hit up hipfire and overall handling stats. The LC10 hipfire is 7 milliradians, which is totally normal for SMGs in this game, and I think they're all the same except for the Milano 821 is like a little bit tighter, so nothing exceptional there. Base reload time is 2.2 seconds. Again, very normal for SMGs, nothing exceptional. The weapon performs super well when I treat it like an assault rifle. Now, it does have a little bit better handling stats than the assault rifles in terms of movement speed, but in terms of aim down sights time and sprint out time, it's nearly identical to an assault rifle. So this is a little bit bizarre to think about it. It's not really a hybrid weapon in the sense that you can react really fast with it. It's more of a hybrid weapon in the sense that your base sprint speed and strafe speed and a few of the other like general movement speeds are more like an SMG, so your overall map mobility is a little bit better with it. So given that, and given a lack of rushing, it works really well at these medium range engagements, which is mostly Call of Duty as a game. If you're not playing like not Ground War, Combined Arms or something, is mostly going to be a whole bunch of these like up in your face little gunfights, and then these like 20-30 meters kind of ranges to where it's still relatively easy to see your enemies, kind of like on the new Apocalypse map. And when you use it like a long-range weapon, like an assault rifle in those medium-range engagements, it performs very, very well. Stats-wise, it doesn't actually dominate very much, but the small benefits add up to a very well-rounded gun. What I usually like to do and what I'm looking for in these guides is like, oh my god, it's super fast time to kill, or I found this one cool trick that does this thing that I can put on the thumbnail with arrows and red circles and stuff like that, but this one kind of doesn't. It just has a lot of small benefits that ultimately add up to a gun that I think most of you are going to subjectively say feels really good, even if the numbers aren't super impressive. In my opinion, I think you should just set up your shots and don't play too close range with it and you'll shred people. Just play the medium range fights and it's going to perform really, really well for you. And now it's time for me to talk about my recommended class. It's not the most creative one, but we'll go over a few options here. This is sort of the all the attachments minimize the recoil class that I have got the best gameplay with. I use the Microflex LED optics. I actually didn't want to use this one. I wanted to go with the Hawksmoor or the Snappoint optics, but for some reason after the most recent update they were bugged for me and they didn't really work properly, so I ultimately went back to the Microflex. I'm going to run the agency suppressor. It gives me, keeps me off the radar and cuts my recoil a little bit. I'm losing some range, but given the fact that the gun has crazy range to begin with, I don't really feel like I'm losing a whole lot, especially considering the next barrel that I'm going to put on it is going to increase the range towards almost no loss and give me a huge bonus to bullet velocity, which is great, though I do lose some aim, walking, movement speed. That's usually the thing that I sacrifice when I build these kind of laser classes. The next thing that I did is put on the Ember sighting point optic so that I get a little bit of reveal distance and some hipfire accuracy. I'm not worried too much about the sprint out time or ADS time because I'm not really fighting that close range engagement, so I don't feel like there's a lot of downsides there and I can see people hiding in the bushes. Field agent grip's just my favorite. Cuts your horizontal recoil as much as anything in the game. Makes the gun more lasery than anything. Shooting move speed still kind of sucks. I'm going to go ahead and put the big 52 round fast mag on it. Really, given how ammo efficient the gun is, I probably don't need this, but at this point in my build, I just decided to stack on all of the final attachments. Use the best things that you've got. So of course the airborne elastic wrap is next, so we can drop shot, and so that our aim down sights time is great. It further hurts the shooting move speed and sprint to fire time, and further pushes the weapon into the assault rifle category. I decided to patch this up a little bit with like a little band-aid by running the wire stock to just boost the sprint out time just a little bit and kind of avoid any downsides. However, if I wasn't going to do this, I would probably go with the combat stock. Not only do I get a little bit of extra camo on there, which is nice, but that shooting move speed and aim walking speed can be really nice on this accuracy weapon, so you can kind of strafe head glitches a little bit. That's just kind of your choice there, so you run whichever one you want. Alright guys, that's all for this episode of Black Ops Cold War in Depth. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful, and I hope to get back to producing content somewhat more regularly in the future, and yeah, that's pretty much that. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.